this weekend's attempted bombing of Times Square is only the latest in a series of terror attacks and attempted terror attacks here in the U.S. Now, over the past year, America has been targeted by radical Islamic extremists. Now, first, there was the September 2009 attempt to detonate suicide bombs in New York City's subway system, plotted by one of al-Qaeda's ringleaders. Then in November, Major Nadal Malik Hassan opened fire on the Fort Hood Army base in Texas, killing 13 and wounding dozens more. Then on Christmas Day, disaster was averted when an underwear bomb failed to detonate on board a Northwest Airlines flight bound for Detroit. And now we can add the attempted attack in the heart of New York, and that is Times Square, to this growing list. Now, given this history, it's odd that some politicians are suggesting that right-wing radicals are behind the latest attack. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg was caught on tape suggesting that opposition to the health care law could be the motive behind the attempted car bombing in Times Square. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Take a look at this.
If I had to guess 25 cents, this would be exactly that. Somebody who's homegrown, maybe a mentally deranged person, or somebody with a political agenda that doesn't like the health care bill or something. It could be anything.
And Bloomberg was not the only one suggesting the suspect might have ties to the right. Here's what New York Congressman Jerrold Nadler, what he said earlier today.
Whether the guy who did this or the people who did this were with some Islamic terrorist group, or whether they were some right-wing nut group, or whether they were by themselves, in one sense it doesn't matter because they're all dangerous.
And joining me now with analysis is nationally syndicated radio talk show host, I call him the Great One, Mark Levin. By the way, Mark wrote the preface for his father, Jack Levin's brand new book, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address Illustrated, a terrific book. We'll talk about that in a second. Thank me. God bless us. How are we? Welcome to the program, Mr. Levin.
How are you, my friend?
By the way, is this the bunker that you talk about on the radio program all the time? Is this the hidden bunker?
Well, this is a little above the bunker, but it's close.
All right. Let's start with Bloomberg's comments and Nadler's comments and your reaction.
Well, we obviously have a problem with 40-year-old white guys. I mean, just listen to them. That's what they're telling us. That's the... Let me tell you, these guys are PC. They are going to endanger this country. And in Nadler's case, it just shows you can lose 300 pounds, but you're still not going to get any smarter. They're making a run at us. These events that are going on, 1, 2, 3, and there'll be more, because they sense weakness. They sense that we have our guard down, not from the NYPD, not from the FBI, not from intelligence services and so forth, but from our political leadership, who continues to lie to the American people and lies to the world about what's going on here. We are facing a concerted effort. It doesn't mean every attempted attack on us is a concerted effort, but a concerted, hostile force, and it's obviously fundamental Islam, and it's not 40-year-old white guys.
You know, there is almost an obsession, Mark, to minimize radical Islamic terror and radical Islamic terrorism, and then to create a false reality that there's a threat from the American right. It's now become an obsession by the left.
Here's the problem. You know, those people who were slaughtered on 9/11, they were black, they were white, they were brown, they were yellow, they were red, they were Jews and Muslims and Christians and atheists and you name it. We're talking about protecting this country, and these guys play group racial politics. Bloomberg is becoming a disgrace and an embarrassment. He ought to focus on what he really knows, which is salt. He's not Rudy Giuliani. Nadler has never had anything particularly intelligent to say about national security, and yet they're out there popping off about things they know very little about. But I do want to emphasize that's the political leadership in the city and in other places, not the law enforcement and intelligence folks who do a great job.
No, I agree with that. What do you make of the obsession to blame people like yourself, people like me, attacking the Fox News channel, you know, on a daily basis, and all its personalities, and our mutual friend Rush Limbaugh, you know, the incendiary rhetoric, the president himself now actively involved in this. Meanwhile, he personally is out there attacking members of the Tea Party movement using a pejorative teabaggers. You know, what do you make of this, what is now a narrative that they keep advancing, that the right wing and the language used by the right wing is somehow creating this atmosphere of violence, which is what they're trying to say?
Well, we so-called right-wingers, what do we support? We support the Constitution. We support liberty. We support private property rights. We support religious tolerance and religious liberty. We support an ordered, free society, everything our enemies oppose. So it can't be us who are saying things that would ignite a problem like this. I think what the enemy sees now is weakness, and frankly, they're right to see weakness with the political leadership. Yeah. They're laughing at this Bloomberg who's talking about, the health care bill, that people are upset with the health care bill, so they might blow up Times Square.
Well, let me move on for just a second here. If we look at Gettysburg, 53,000 Union Confederate soldiers died. Your father, who's 85 years old, back a number of years ago, he was at a parade when he was a young kid, and he saw a veteran who fought in the Civil War, and it had a great impression on him. And he was also an artist, and he was terrific at drawings. Anyway, I think it's one of the greatest speeches in American history, the Gettysburg Address. You tell the story about how your father put this book together many, many years ago. You're re-releasing it as of today. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Well, there's really two stories here. One is about my father, who could be many fathers out there. He's a courageous, a very unique human being, and yet very quintessential American. And a man who worked with his hands and was self-taught about the Civil War, and he was particularly interested in the Gettysburg battle, which was the most horrific battle with over 50,000 casualties. And 45 years ago, he was concerned about turmoil in this country, rioting and so forth. And he put together this book, and it was published by a major publisher, and it was the only book he ever did. And he called me about 8 months ago. He said, you know, Mark, we're facing perilous times. I think we should do this again. And what we've done with my great publisher is these photographs, I think, are very compelling. We've used new digital technology to really draw out the details. These are very old period photographs that are meshed with the language in the Gettysburg Address. And the purpose is, you know, to instill motivation, to let people know that at the worst time in American history, when this country is being torn apart, we were still able to overcome it. We had great leadership, and our ancestors overcame that, and we will overcome what's going on today.
You know, I think that's extraordinarily well said. The Gettysburg Address illustrated. The pictures in this book, by the way, and the way you were able to put them in there are just amazing, with the speech, with the story about your father. Yeah. And the story of Gettysburg as well is phenomenal. And Mark, I congratulate you and your dad, and thanks so much for being with us as usual. We'll actually be together Saturday morning in Tyson's Corner in Virginia, and I look forward to seeing you there.
We will. And Jack Levin, my father, God bless you.
All right, he's a great American. God bless you. And when we come back, did GM pull a fast one on the American people? We'll get to that, and also the latest on the oil spill in the Gulf, and much more straight ahead.